haven't seen any increase in numbers, maybe we can get started. And it is being recorded, so just to let everyone know, this is being recorded. We'll be posting this on our 4-H Agronomy website in the next couple days after we're done today. So with that, Anya, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Well, first I'd like to again welcome you to Fair Exhibit Friday. And as we get started, we're glad that you joined us for another edition to our Minnesota 4-H Agronomy and Horticultural Live session. Again, today is Fair Exhibit Friday, and my name is Anya Johnson, and I am an Extension Educator with Dakota County. And I also have Brian McNeil and Kristen Cook. And I also would like to take a moment and let Emily introduce herself.
Actually, it'd be Sarah. So
Oh, Sarah. I'm sorry, Sarah. Sorry, I was thinking Emily. Sarah.
Hey everyone, so my name is Sarah Wilkes and I am from Grant County. This is my 12th year in 4-H now, and this year I am holding a position as a state agriculture ambassador. So we are a group of a dozen state ambassadors who help promote agriculture and agronomy in 4-H. This whole virtual learning kind of shifted our whole experience. So it's brand new for me too, but it's really exciting for me to get to see how 4-H has changed and adapted so we can still share these learning experiences together like these. With that in mind, I'm really excited to learn with you guys today. I think I see actually from the chat someone from North Carolina, so that's really cool that we're reaching all the way out there. So I'm excited to join you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah.
All right.
So, Fair Exhibit Friday is brought to you by Minnesota 4-H. 4-H is a community for all kids with programs that suit a variety of backgrounds, interests, budgets, and schedules, from in-school to after-school, clubs to camps. 4-H positive youth development programs are available in your community and welcome children who want to have fun in 4-H, learn and grow. In Minnesota 4-H is brought to you by the University of Minnesota Extension. Extension experts and educators share university knowledge, information, and tools that you can use every day to improve your life. So as we get started, I have just a few quick reminders about our meeting today. We want to remember good manners when we're on an online meeting, just like we do when we're face-to-face. You're on, again, as Brian had mentioned, you are on mute, and we'll be using the chat for questions. Chats will be going to Brian and Kristen, who will let me know if you have any questions. And Brian and Kristen may also be joining in and answering some questions with me today. We will be going over a lot of ideas for you to create your own 4-H exhibits for the fair. I'll go through... As I go through the lesson, feel free to put your ideas, questions in the chat, or you could also answer them at home quietly if we ask you a question, or whoever you're watching with. And one last reminder, we don't want you to miss out on our agronomy funds, so remember to be respectful to all participants so that you are not removed from our webinar today. In 4-H meetings and other 4-H opportunities, we like to start with our 4-H pledge. The 4-H pledge is a great way to unite us all in 4-H youth development program. Its meaning is as true today as it was when it was first created. This might be a time you might want to. This might be a time that you want to say this with me. And you will see the slide to help you say it. So if you will join in with me. We will say the pledge. I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, my health to better living, for my family, my club, my community, my country, and my world. Now, if you're from another state, you maybe notice there's a difference in our pledge. In Minnesota, we have added for my family. Before, my club indicated we were We are also pledging ourselves to our family and acknowledging family is an important piece of our society. Thanks again for joining me in the pledge today. So, for today's lesson, if you have an extra device, you may want to grab it. Otherwise, a piece of paper and a pencil would work. If you don't have either of those, that's just fine too. In a little bit, we'll be playing a little game. So as we go through our lesson today, is all about giving giving you ideas on what you could do for your fair project. So we realize that this year will look different for each of us as we experience our showcase events in a different way. Most of us have had our fairs canceled, or there are still a few fairs that, as of now, are planning on continuing. There may be some of you on this webinar that will have an opportunity to showcase your projects through an in-person achievement day, while others of you may be learning about utilizing technology to showcase your exhibits virtually. Whatever it might be, just know that we are still planning something great for you to showcase your learning this year. So we encourage all of you to bring something to your showcase events. So with that being said, before we get into some project ideas, I wanted to share some helpful resources with you that the Minnesota State 4-H Agronomy team has been working to support your learning. So Brian, if I stop sharing my screen, can you pull up the resource on our how to prepare your project?
I sure can. So once you stop sharing, then I'll share my screen here.
Have I stopped?
Yep. Just taking me a second to get the right.
Okay, perfect.
Kind of on my end. All right, so welcome everyone again. We're excited to have you. The 4-H Agronomy and Horticulture team has been working hard to provide some different experiences for you. And along with this, we've tried to create and update some resources. So as you're planning, as you're planting, as you're harvesting and cleaning vegetables for a fair, there'll be resources to help you through this. We have an agronomy, again, website that you can download this. This is a new enhanced version of a support guide. We had one that was very good information, but a little dated. We've taken time to update with some new pictures and added in some new experiences as well. You'll see that, and I'll just kind of scroll through here. This is our cover page, so it has some tasty looking apples and tomatoes and strawberries on. And you'll go through, I'll screen a little fast here. This will give you some idea to look for color, maturity, even how to present your fruits or vegetables at a fair exhibit, the quality, the size. So all this is kind of explained in this new support guide. We've broken it down. We have a preparing fruit for exhibit judging. So you'll see there's apples, cherries, plums, grapes, raspberries, strawberries, or other. We know there's other fruits out there that you may want to exhibit. Again, we mentioned the preparation, some exhibit suggestions, and some aids to help in the judging. Then we have herbs, which is a new piece. This was not in any support guides that we had in the past, so this is a new one that we've added in, and this talks about a dried herb or a fresh cut or a potted, and again those preparations of what to do with a dried, fresh cut, or potted, and again also some exhibit suggestions, because you may be growing a really neat herb and you're thinking, okay, how can I exhibit this at a county fair? So there will be some exhibit ideas for you. Then we have preparing potatoes for an exhibit. This is one that we did a little tweaking on. In the past, if you've grown potatoes in 4-H, we've had a box of 12 perfectly uniform, clean potatoes. as we've been really wrestling with different items in agronomy and horticulture, this is one we wrestled with a little bit with the numbers. And so instead of saying you need 12, we're saying you need 6 to 10. We're saying a range of uniformed, perfect, clean potatoes. So that's one switch, and you'll see that we've done some other kind of number crunching just to give people a little more variety and not having to dig up a dozen hills of potatoes to get 12 perfect potatoes. Hopefully you can get 1 or 2 hills and find that range of 6 to 10. And then we go again through, we have preparing vegetables for an exhibit. This is another area where it was a vegetable box with specific number. We've given more ranges just to help as you're harvesting your vegetables, or if something doesn't turn out quite right, you're not held to certain specific numbers. There are more ranges. So some of, again, our suggestions are broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. You can see the list there. I'm not going to read all of those. We didn't try to get all of them. We also put in other because there's ones we probably missed. So know that if you're growing something on this list, you can still bring it. It's just included in the other. One thing we did kind of, again, switch up with the vegetables. Again, before in the past, it's been a box of 1 large, 3 medium, and 6 to 12 or 12 small vegetables. We also think it'd be kind of fun to bring a plate. So you could bring a plate of peas or a plate with 3 tomatoes on it. So know that you're just not limited to a perfect box anymore, that we've given suggestions on bringing plates of different vegetables to the fair as well. We've also given some planting tips for vegetables. So if you're new to growing vegetables, we put a chart in here to kind of help giving planting depths, giving how far they should be apart in your planting. Some different information to help you in that growing process. And then that's it. So that's our new guide that we have available. Again, we had an old one that was green. It was done in 1969. I think it was 1969. This is updated, and we'll be updated in every year if there's changes or that type of thing. And know that there are those different ranges in the potatoes and the vegetable sections. With that, Anya,
and we will post these with the information, and I believe that Casey sends us out as well. Like, she could send these documents out as well, so that if you guys are interested, or she'll have a link to them, so that if you're interested in looking at these further, you will certainly be able to. We also are going to be, we have our premium book. We have some suggestions in our premium book. We've updated that for counties. Now, we do realize that your premium book may look different this year, but just know that we are also working on that to provide some extra help and categories, and so that families can see what they need to do. Are you seeing, what screen are you seeing?
We're seeing your notes, Anya.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Hold on one moment.
And as Anya's getting her slides, if you have questions, please feel free to put that in the chat. We're monitoring that. If there's been any questions up to this point, throw them in there, and one of us will capture those and bring them forward during that question time.
All right, so thank you, Brian, for sharing that little bit of information with us on those resources that we have. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about some projects, areas that you could do. So if you enjoy agronomy and you're not exactly sure what you would like to do for agronomy project, agronomy exhibit is a great way to expand your learning opportunities. However, some agronomy projects do require, so It might be something that maybe you're going to do something else this year, but maybe in August you're already thinking for your fair project next year. So I also wanted to share that with you as well, that with agronomy you might be working on projects year round. So due to the growing season. So for example, you could display corn, ears of a corn display. This project will most likely be done in the fall, and you would want to probably select 6 to 10 ears of dent corn or some variety to display. Jars of corn. This project would also be completed in the fall, or if you have a grain bin or whatever, it could be completed any time. You would be collecting your sample and making sure that it's clean, making sure you know about your corn for your conference judging. So forages, you could do this really in the fall, in the summer, spring. Because of the harvest season, you would want you could have a sample that would include dry. It could be dried bundle or a sample of 4 to 6 inch slab of a bale of forage. Forage could include alfalfa, warm season grasses, cool season grasses, sorghum, native grasses, silage, and it's also recommended that you have an analysis of your forage accompany the sample. So you can get that analyzed, and that would be something helpful for your overall fair exhibit. So specialty crops, this project could be completed really anytime depending upon when the harvest season for that crop is. So specialty crops could include sugar beets, edible beans, black beans, kidney beans, field produced sweet corn, peas, carrots, potatoes, popcorn, and you would want to make sure that you clean that, and if it could be dried and put into a 2-quart jar. Otherwise, if it's fresh produce, put it on a plate. And then make sure that you also know what it is that you're bringing to the judge. So small grains. So this project could be completed again anytime depending upon when the harvest is. Small grains could include wheat, barley, rye, oats. And then after collecting your sample again, you want to make sure it's clean. Again, you have soybeans that you could collect most of the time in the fall. Unless you do have a corn bin, you could collect that at any time. So agronomy, you have your agricultural technology, corn forage, plant and soil science, small grains, soybeans, specialty crops, weeds and pests, and in horticulture, they all kind of are overarching category, but we also have in horticulture, we have flower gardening, fruit, indoor gardening, and potatoes. And then for vegetables and herb gardenings, we have herb gardening, a vegetable display box, vegetable gardening box, vegetable plates, or largest vegetable. So those are just some ideas of things that you could do, but again, some of them you may have to prepare a little bit ahead of time for, and some of them you may have heard, and now you know that you have it, so you can go, that might be your project for this year. All right, so as we move on, so those are some tips that we have. Then when some helpful judging tips. So when you're being judged, we want to make sure that you are excited about your project, and this is the time that you get to share a learning process, what you've been working so hard on. So this is a great time to really showcase your learning for that. And the judge wants to hear all about, like, how did you select this project? Like, why did you want to do those potatoes? And why did you pick that variety of potatoes? What resources did you use or information? Who helped you with your project? Materials, costs, time spent on the project. What did you learn from it? What are challenges, or what was the hardest part of your project? And then think about, like, what did you learn about yourself by doing this project? And what did you learn from this project that may even help you in your everyday life in the future? If you're creating a poster, make sure there's not too much text. So you could use bullet points, short, concise photo captions, and you could use supplemental materials for your display. You could take pictures, doing something step by step. Judges really like you showing them that whole entire process. You could add a 3D piece if you have an opportunity to put that with your exhibit. That's always a great idea, and judges really like that. And always include your top 2 or 3 resources or references somewhere on your project. And just as a reminder, be prepared to tell your story about your exhibit with the judge, because they want to hear all about it. So make sure you're ready to share it all. And then some other questions to think about. They may ask you, they may say, please tell me about your experience with your project. How has your project helped you learn the way plants grow? So there's some different questions here. Have you done any research on the way that plants grow or could grow better? What could you do differently with your project? What kinds of other plants could you grow that way? And what are you going to grow next year? So now that we've gone through some exhibits and given you some judging tips and resources, we're going to have a little bit of fun. So I want you to grab out that second device, or you could have a second tab on your browser, or a piece of paper or pen, or think about it in your head. So we are going to go to Kahoot.it, www.kahoot.it, and once you arrive, you will enter the number on my screen in just a moment, and you'll put your name. And if you're participating with just a pen and paper, just hang out for a few minutes while we get everyone set up. And then once everyone's logged into Kahoot, we will get started. So hold on one moment. Alright, so you will see the game pin on your screen. Is that, oh, there we go. It looks like there might be a few more people joining us. All right. So it looks like we are going to get started here. We got some more that keep coming in. We are going to get started. So we are now going to explore some of the project areas and see what you guys know, and if you guys are able to come up with some of the answers, which I think you can. So we will get started. All right. So a agronomy project is made up of what projects? Fruit, vegetables and herbs, horticulture, field crops, or all of the above? All right. Yes. So it is made up of, let's see, we have agronomy. So we had 14 people say that it was all the above, and that was the correct answer. We also had some people that said it was agronomy was made up of horticulture and fruits and vegetables and herbs, and they were right as well. All right, Jenna's leading it. Maria's in second. True or false? I can only exhibit a project if I have participated in the Minnesota 4-H Agronomy Project Kit. True or false? Great. Yep, so we do have some 4-H agronomy kits that many of you have seen and heard about over the past few years, and you can take those and exhibit them, but you do not need to take an agronomy kit to the fair, or you could take the kit and expand on it. So there are many options with that. All right, Jenna's still in the lead. What is an acceptable corn project exhibit? A 2-quart clear jar of shelled corn, a bundle corn stalks consisting of stalks in the same variety, or educational display about corn plants, reproduction, corn types, etc., or all of the above? Great. Those of you that said all of the above are right. You could take any of them, and they all have different things you could do with them. All right, Jenna is still leading. What would not be a good exhibit if I were bringing a project in the weed and pest category to showcase at the county fair? Live or dried noxious weed samples, display or presentation highlighting any current pests in agriculture, weed display or book identifying different weeds in agriculture, or a live, dry, noxious weed in a clear, closed container. Yes, that is right. So that would not be a good thing to bring to the fair. However, if you do have it in an enclosed environment, that could come to the fair. And in our handout that Brian was sharing with us, we do have some more information and a website that would show you what if you aren't sure what your weed is, that would help you identify that piece. All right, we have Jenna in the lead still. All right, true or false? A flower garden exhibit does not include fairy gardens. True or false? All right, that is false. So, fairy gardens are included in flower gardening, which is also part of agronomy. All right. All right, it looks like Anya is leading. So, how should you prepare your potatoes for the fair? Potato box of 6 to 10 potatoes of different varieties, 5 to 6 varieties of grown over the past few years, potato box of 6 to 10 potatoes, same variety grown this year, or potatoes of varying sizes and types. Oh, we're done. All right, so those of you that said the potato box of 6 to 10 potatoes grown this year would be correct, and you would want them all the same variety because it's a lot easier for the judge to evaluate those potatoes. And then you wouldn't want them from a couple years back because I wouldn't assume that they would be super good unless you kept them really well stored. All right, Anton and Gunnar took the lead. All right, Truffles, preparing a fruit, herb, potato, and vegetable exhibit. The color should be uniform and typical for the specimen. Specimen means that type of vegetable, potato, herb, or fruit. All right, that is true. So we just kind of talked about that before, that you kind of want them all the same, and that you want them to be uniform and typical. Yep. Oh, Anton and Gunnar are still leading. All right, when selecting cherries, plums to exhibit at the fair, they should be plump, ripe, uniform, or all of the above.
All
right, we have everyone said all of the above. Great job, you guys. All right. All right, the judge will ask you specific questions about your exhibit. What questions would the judge not ask you? When did you plant your specimen? What store did you purchase your specimen from? Why did you choose this variety of specimen? And how do you prepare your specimen for the fair? All right, yes. So what store did you purchase your specimens from? So we don't want you to be buying them from the store. We want them to be growing and experiencing that, unless you brought them from the store because that was part of that learning project that you were showing something specific. Oh, Anton and Gunnar are now leading still. All right, 10. When selecting potatoes to exhibit, you should avoid what? Select all that applied. Wrinkly skin, soft cuts and bruises, or all of the above. All right, y'all said all the above. See, I thought this would be easy for you. Gunnar and Anton, you must know your stuff. All right, what vegetable should be washed carefully instead of using a soft cloth to wipe down? Which vegetables should be washed carefully instead of using a soft cloth to wipe down? All right, so those of you that said cabbage are correct. So I learned that pumpkins, tomatoes, and snap beans, you don't actually want to wash them. You actually just want to wash them down, wipe them with a soft cloth. So cabbage would be the one that you could wash carefully. So the other ones, you don't actually want to get them wet when you're preparing for the fair. Anton and Gunnar are still leading. All right, a vegetable box should include 1 large specimen, 3 medium specimens, 2 small specimens, 1 large specimen, 1 medium specimen, 1 small specimen, 3 large specimens, 3 medium specimens, 3 small specimens, 2 large specimens, 2 medium specimens, and 2 small specimens. All right. So, I don't know the reason why, and maybe Brian does, but it is, though there are 4 of you that said 1 large specimen, 3 medium specimen, and 2 small specimen are correct. Brian, do you know why?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, there you go. We all learned something new today. Maria's leading. All right. We're almost done here. The following are examples of sweet corn equals hard and starchy. Beets equals woody and uh, let's see, that one is wrong. Broccoli are open flowers. So peak, the in perfect form, ready to eat. Under peak aren't yet matured or past and overripe. So they are past peak. So if you had sweet corn that was hard and starchy, they would be overripe. Beets would be woody flesh, and broccoli would be flowering. All right, Maria's still on top. Gunnar and Anton moved to second. All right, true or false? This year, there will be many different things for examining your 4-H project, which means you will not be able to show your learning. So, because we may not have a fair in your county, you won't be able to show off your learning. True or false? False. Yep, we are still having an opportunity for each of you to still continue to share your agronomy learning. All right. So it looks like, oh. Yay! Good job, you guys! All right, I'm going to stop this. Hold on one moment, and we're going to... Oh, that didn't work. Hold on. Sorry. All right. All right, so if there's any questions that you guys have, we just wanted to go over some things quickly with you, show you some different examples, some projects, some resources that we have. If you guys have any questions for us, put them in the chat. Brian, are you seeing any questions on specifics that they are having?
Not yet.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we gave a good overview and they were able to get their questions answered. So as we wait for that to come in, for those of you, I would like to thank you all for attending today's session of the virtual 4-H agronomy learning. And next Friday is June 12th, and we are going to be doing 4-H Friday again at 2. Again, I encourage all of you to think about putting together a fair exhibit, and I hope that you've got new ideas on what types of projects you can do around agronomy for the fair.
Anya, we do have a question, wondering that they like the presentation and wondering if they can get a copy of this to share with their 4-H club to get more interest going.
We certainly could do that. Yep, and we will have that posted too, but if you send me, if they put their email in the link, we can send that off to them. Is there other questions that we have? All right. Well, once again, we are done for today's edition. And again, if you have other questions, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, thanks again for tuning in, and look us up for more 4-H agronomy information on the Minnesota. If you search Minnesota 4-H agronomy, you will have lots of different opportunities that come up.